Life is impermanent. 30 Zen stories to enlighten and ease life's sufferings. Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. Reading and enjoying these small stories from the classic Zen forest will help you grasp the unique allure of Zen philosophy in a naturally comfortable way. It helps you understand that although Zen is profound, its form is extremely simple and lively, directly touching the heart without the need for words. Each story in this book fully embodies the wisdom of Zen masters and Buddhist scriptures, containing countless true meanings in life, making it an excellent book for life enlightenment. One Everything for the Self. Zen master Tao Qian befriended Tong Vian on a pilgrimage. Along the way, Tong Vian, unable to endure the hardships of crossing streams and climbing mountains, often complained and wanted to return. Tao Qian comforted him, saying, "We have committed to this pilgrimage and have come a long way. It would be a shame to turn back now. From now on, I will do everything I can to help you on this journey, but there are 4 things I cannot do for you." Tong Vian asked, "What are those 4 things?" Tao Qian calmly replied, "Wearing clothes, eating, urinating, and walking." Tao Qian's words finally enlightened Tong Vian, and from then on he no longer complained. Zen says that attachment to oneself often causes the greatest obstacles, and the biggest enemy is oneself. Zen wisdom: gold flows with the tide but must be mined early. No achievement in this world comes without effort. High buildings start from the ground, and long journeys begin with a single step. Life, suffering, and responsibilities cannot be replaced by others. Everything must be done by oneself. To the nun is female. Zen master Tri Tong, while returning to practice Zen with Zen master Kui Tong, once shouted during the night, "I have achieved enlightenment. I have achieved enlightenment." Many monks were disturbed by his late-night announcement. The next day, Zen master Kui Tong gathered everyone and asked, "Who proclaimed enlightenment last night? Please step forward." Tri Tong stepped out and immediately said, "It was me." Kui Tong, curious about his profound enlightenment, asked, "What have you realized?" Tri Tong replied, "My enlightenment cannot be expressed in words." Kui Tong said, "The Tathagata came to the world to teach and benefit others. Please share it with us." Tri Tong softly said, "The nun is female." This caused the monks to laugh, but Zen master Kui Tong looked at him and said, "Indeed, you have truly achieved enlightenment." The statement, "The nun is female," was a simple truth, yet it was a profound realization for Tri Tong after enduring much hardship. Truth is often very simple, but the process of seeking it is often difficult and complex. 3. The moment is now. A general was troubled by 3 questions and disguised himself as a commoner to seek answers from a Zen master. When he found the Zen master digging in the vegetable garden, he asked, "I have 3 questions. When is the best time to do good? Who is the most important person? What is the most important thing to do?" The Zen master did not answer and continued digging. The general, seeing the old man's weakness, took the hoe and worked in his place, saying, "If you cannot answer, just say so and I will leave." Just then, a seriously injured man stumbled in, and the general bandaged him and placed him in the grass. The next day, the injured man, awakening and seeing the general, asked for forgiveness. The general, puzzled, asked why. The man replied, "During a battle, you killed my brother and took my possessions. I vowed to kill you and ambushed you on the way here but was wounded by your men. I would have died without your help. I now pledge to serve you for the rest of my life." The general was astonished to find his long-standing enemy reconciled. Before leaving, the general asked the Zen master his 3 questions again. The Zen master replied, "I already answered them." The general was confused. The Zen master explained, "Yesterday, if you had not helped me dig, you would have been attacked on your way back. Thus, digging was the most important time. If you had not cared for the injured man, he would have died, and you would not have reconciled. So, he was the most important person. The most important task was caring for him. Remember, the most important time is now, the only time under your control. The most important person is the one with you now. The most important thing is to bring joy to them. This is the purpose of life." The general understood and joyfully descended the mountain with the man. Zen wisdom: causes arise and cease. Only the present exists. To achieve your goals, actively create favorable conditions, but remember, the only time you can control is now. 4. Unshakable by the 8 winds, moved by a fart. Though Zen is intangible, it manifests concretely in practical actions. Only by truly practicing can one understand its meaning and demonstrate the results of Zen practice, rather than using empty words to show off. A famous poem by Sudongpo describes the ideal state of being unaffected by the 8 winds: praise, ridicule, honor, disgrace, gain, loss, pleasure, and pain. Sudongpo proudly sent this poem to Zen master Foyin, expecting praise. Instead, Foyin wrote "fart" on it and returned it. Sudongpo was enraged and crossed the river to confront Foyin. When Sudongpo angrily questioned Foyin, the master laughed and said, "You claim to be unaffected by the 8 winds, yet a single fart has blown you across the river." Sudongpo realized his folly and regretted his reaction. Zen wisdom. Zen transcends words and texts. Without true realization, one cannot withstand tests. Achievements come from actions, not words. 5. Humility and sudden enlightenment. A government official, exhausted and hungry from traveling, found himself sharing a meal with an enlightened monk who had also not eaten for days. On the table were 2 bowls of noodles, one large and one small. The official, out of respect, pushed the larger bowl towards the monk. The monk, without hesitation, ate the entire bowl. The official then pushed the smaller bowl towards him, saying, "Master, if you are still hungry, please eat this one too." The monk, again without hesitation, finished the smaller bowl as well. The now extremely hungry official was annoyed and exclaimed, "Though you are an enlightened monk, you have shown no basic courtesy or humility. You are hungry, but so am I. Instead of alleviating my difficulties, you have made them worse. How can you claim to be enlightened? How can you spread compassion?" The monk smiled slowly and said, "First, you offered me the larger bowl, and I wanted to eat it. If I had refused, it wouldn't have been true to my desire. Later, you offered me the smaller bowl, and I also wanted to eat it, so I accepted it. Your acts of humility were sincere, were they not?" The official immediately understood, thanked the monk for his lesson. The point was to eat, and whoever eats, eats. Why bother with unnecessary gestures? Outwardly appearing courteous while harboring inner discontent is contradictory. Etiquette is merely a form, and adherence to it can be a sign of hypocrisy. Genuine sincerity is the true essence of humanity, but humility is not a flaw. Accepting others' humility without expecting excessive reciprocation leads to freedom from distress, self-reliance, and self-salvation. A person facing difficulties went to a temple to pray to Guanyin and found someone identical to Guanyin also bowing before the statue. He asked, "Are you Guanyin?" The figure replied, "I am Guanyin." The person asked, "Then why are you bowing to yourself?" Guanyin smiled and said, "I too face difficulties, but I know that relying on oneself is better than relying on others." Enlightened, the person thanked Guanyin and left the temple. The essence is to awaken the Buddha nature within oneself. All beings share this essence and endure the cycle of suffering due to illusory causes. The Buddha nature of the Buddha, oneself, and all beings are no different. Buddha can rely on himself, and so can we. A devotee seeking shelter from the rain under an eave saw a monk with an umbrella passing by and called out, "Master, please help me. Let me walk with you." The monk replied, "I am in the rain. You are under the eave where there is no rain. You don't need my help." The devotee ran out into the rain and said, "Now I am in the rain too. You must help me." The monk said, "I am in the rain, and so are you. I am not getting wet because I have an umbrella. You are getting wet because you don't. It's not I who helps, but the umbrella. If you want to stay dry, find your own umbrella." And he walked away. Having an umbrella means not getting wet, just as having Buddha nature means not being deluded. On a rainy day, asking others for help while not seeking your own inner Buddha nature is futile. Zen wisdom, self-reliance, and self-salvation, all things depend on oneself. No strife. Monk Dufawn asked Zen master Kaosan, "What is the most valuable thing in the world?" Kaosan looked into the distance and saw a blackened cat carcass hanging from a branch. He said, "The head of a dead cat is the most valuable thing." The monk, puzzled, asked, "Why? People consider it worthless, but you say it is the most valuable." Kaosan laughed and said, "The trunk of a shun tree is large and curved, considered useless by people, so it survives. The bark of a yi tree is excellent, but boats made from it sink, coffins rot, tools break, and house beams become infested. The only use is providing shade. The cat's head is invaluable because no one would offer a price or fight for it, and no one would risk their life for it. The highest state of life is one without strife, priceless, peaceful, and happy. Wealth and fame are merely life's foam and dust. Do not strive for them. Zen wisdom. Spending life in pursuit of fame and fortune leads only to emptiness. Purity and freedom are life's treasures, allowing us to experience life fully, free from worldly harm, and discover life's essence and joy. 8. The old thief teaches his son. A devotee wanted to learn the wooden fish chant but was often rejected. One day, he visited Zen master Wu Shan and sincerely said, "Master, I am foolish and unable to meditate deeply. But the mountain is high, and though I may not reach the summit, I still long for it. Please, can you show me what Zen is like?" Wu Shan replied with a story. A thief's son asked his father, "Father, you're getting old. Teach me the art of thievery so I can make a living." The father agreed and took him to a wealthy man's house at night. Opening a wardrobe with a master key, he locked the son inside and shouted, "Thief, thief," and ran away. The wealthy family checked but found nothing missing and went back to sleep. The boy, locked inside, wondered what to do. Thinking quickly, he mimicked the sound of mice gnawing at clothes. The wife heard and asked the servant to check. As soon as the wardrobe was opened, the boy leapt out, knocked the servant down, blew out the light, and escaped. The family chased him to the riverbank. The boy, in desperation, threw a large stone into the river and escaped another way. Returning home, he recounted the story to his father, who praised him, saying, "You will never starve." The ingenuity born from desperation, just like the thief, is Zen. Zen wisdom. The wisdom of Zen arises from within oneself and cannot always be guided by others. As Wu Shan said, it's the solution found in desperation. Like when the mountain is at its end and the river is exhausted, another village appears amidst the trees. That is Zen. 9. Believing in the horse because of the rains. One time, Zen master Huineng was staying at someone's house. While resting at noon, he heard someone chanting sutras. Huineng leaned closer and felt something was off, so he got up and went to the person chanting and asked, "You often chant sutras. Do you understand the meaning within them?" The person shook his head and said, "Some parts are really hard to understand." Huineng then explained in detail the parts that the person was chanting. He said, "As we age, our hair turns white amid the vanity of fleeting fame. What do we want? When the embers of life are about to extinguish, when the heart and breath are about to stop, what is our final hope? When the body in the grave decomposes into bones, returning to dust, earth back to earth, life becomes nothingness without any feeling. Where will we be?" At that moment, the person felt enlightened, as if he could see the light of life hidden in the shadows. The person then asked Huineng to explain a few more words in the Buddhist scriptures. Unexpectedly, Huineng laughed and said, "I am illiterate. Ask me the direct meaning." The person was astonished and said, "You don't even know how to read. How can you understand the meaning? How can you comprehend Buddhist principles?" Huineng laughed and said, "When riding a horse, you don't necessarily need reins. They are for beginners. Once you master it, you can ride freely wherever you want without reins." Zen wisdom. The profound meaning of Zen has nothing to do with riding. Words are just tools. Understanding relies on the heart, which is enlightenment, not words. 10. No difference between men and women. Zen master Long Tan often went to Truk Lam Zen temple to teach and preach to the bhikkhunis, nuns there. After preaching, Long Tan would customarily engage in discussions with the nuns, answering many of their questions. During one such session, a bhikkhuni approached Zen master Long Tan and asked, "How should I practice in this life to be reborn as a man in the next?" Long Tan asked her, "How long have you been a nun?" The bhikkhuni replied, "What does my past time as a nun have to do with the future? I just want to know if I can become a man in the next life." Long Tan asked again, "So what are you now?" The bhikkhuni answered, "I am a woman, can't you see?" Zen master Long Tan said, "You are a woman, but who can see that you are a woman? In terms of gender, from a Buddhist perspective, when you cultivate to the level of a bodhisattva, you will appear in a female form. When you reach the level of a tathagata, you will appear in a male form." The bhikkhuni immediately attained enlightenment. Zen wisdom. The differences between men and women are worldly transformations. In nature, there is no singular form. Eliminating the distinctions in our minds allows us to treat all beings equally without attachment. 11. A life without faults. There was a head cook responsible for cooking at a Zen monastery, a highly respected position. To do this job well, one not only had to cook deliciously, but also had to be economical with rice, food, oil, and salt, ensuring nothing was wasted. Zen master Shixiang had held this position at many monasteries, managing the kitchen at the monastery of Zen master Weishan. One day, while sifting rice, Zen master Weishan came by and said, "Do not let a single grain of rice fall to the ground, as it is the offering from benefactors." Shixiang replied, "I have never let a grain fall." Weishan looked around, picked up a grain of rice from the ground, and said, "You say you didn't let any fall, so where did this grain come from?" Shixiang was silent, unable to respond. Zen master Weishan continued, "Do not underestimate this one grain, for hundreds of thousands of grains grow from this single one." Shixiang then seized the opportunity to ask, "So where did this grain come from?" Weishan did not answer, laughed, and returned to his room. Later that afternoon, he appeared in the Zen hall and said, "Listen everyone, there are weevils in the rice. One grain can produce thousands of others, so where does one grain come from? Naturally, it comes from thousands of grains. One produces all phenomena. All phenomena return to one." Weishan naturally understood this simple truth, but he waited until the afternoon to say, "There are weevils in the rice," to awaken the monks. Zen wisdom. The koan "one produces all phenomena" brings us closer to the truth of existence in non-existence, returning to the essence of non-arising and non-perishing from the flourishing of all things. 12. Compassionate wisdom. Zen master Hui Tanzushi, also known as Bao Jue, from Nanhong, Guangdong, had close ties with scholar Huang Shangu. One day, Huang Shangu visited to discuss Zen. Zen master Hui Tang asked, "Confucius did not speak of the supernatural or mysterious things. Isn't that similar to Zen practice? What do you think?" Huang Shangu replied, "I am not very sure about this." The two then went for a walk in the mountains, seeing flowers blooming everywhere, and inhaling the fragrant aroma. Zen master Hui Tang asked, "What do you think? Can you smell the fragrance?" Huang Shangu replied, "Yes, it smells wonderful." Zen master Hui Tang said, "So I'm not hiding anything from you." Huang Shangu pretended to understand but did not truly grasp it. Later, as they returned for lunch, Huang Shangu asked, "Zen master, in the sutras it says both sentient and non-sentient beings possess complete wisdom. Is this true?" Zen master Hui Tang replied, "This is true, but because it comes from your mouth, it is not true." Huang Shangu, puzzled, asked, "Why is that?" Zen master Hui Tang did not answer directly but instead hit the table with his chopsticks, and a dog under the table yelped and ran away. Hui Tang said, "Dogs as sentient beings run when struck, while the table being non-sentient remains unaffected. How can sentient and non-sentient beings become one?" Huang Shangu was perplexed but later understood. Hui Tang clarified, "Mountains have mountain spirits, water has water spirits, flowers have flower spirits, and trees have tree spirits, all displaying wonderful functions. Green bamboo contains prajna, and yellow flowers are true dharma. Therefore, sentient and non-sentient beings can possess complete wisdom." Although initially confused, Huang Shangu eventually realized, using intellect to understand is not the Zen way. All things naturally possess their essence without bias. Huang Shangu finally attained enlightenment. As the saying goes, those who are deeply emotional are the most sincere. Sentient and non-sentient beings are truly one. This is the wisdom of Zen. 13. Handling matters calmly. When Master Ban Bang spoke about Zen, people from different schools and backgrounds welcomed his teachings. His sermons did not rely on quoting sutras or indulging in academic discussions. His words touched the hearts of his listeners. His audience grew larger, which displeased a Nichiren sect priest, whose followers flocked to hear Ban Bang's Zen teachings. The priest, egocentric and resentful, decided to confront Ban Bang at his temple for a debate, determined to win. "Master Ban Bang, I hear everyone who comes to listen to you adores and obeys you, but I for one do not. Can you make me submit?" Ban Bang replied calmly, "Come closer and I will show you." The priest arrogantly pushed through the crowd and stepped forward. "Stand on my left," Ban Bang said with a smile. The priest moved to his left. Better yet, move to my right so we can sit closer and talk. The priest strutted forward to his right. Banbang said gently, "See, you have already obeyed me. I wish you to be someone easy to approach." Zen wisdom. People living together must learn tolerance. Trying to change others leads to mutual unhappiness and conflict. 14. Eliminating vanity. Zen Master Dongshan sensed that his time to depart from the world was approaching. When this news spread, people from all over hurried to see him, including envoys from the imperial court. Master Dongshan came out with a serene smile and saw the gathered monks and disciples. He said loudly, "I have been entangled in a bit of worldly vanity, and now I am about to shed this shell. Who among you can help me eliminate this vanity?" The hall was silent. No one knew what to do, and the monastery was filled with stillness. Suddenly, a young monk who had only been on the mountain for a few days stepped forward and, after a respectful bow, asked in a loud voice, "May I ask, what is the master's Dharma name?" As soon as he finished speaking, everyone glared at him angrily. Some whispered that the novice was disrespectful and rude to the Zen master, while others were angry at his ignorance, causing an uproar in the hall. Hearing the young monk's question, Master Dongshan laughed heartily and said, "Well, now I am free from vanity. This young monk is indeed clever." He then sat down, folded his hands, closed his eyes, and passed away. Tears streamed down the young monk's face as he looked at his master's body, feeling fortunate to have helped his master rid himself of vanity before his passing. Shortly after, the young monk was surrounded by others who reproached him, saying, "Is there any reason for this? How could you not know the Dharma name of Zen Master Dongshan? What are you doing here?" The young monk looked around at the people and said with difficulty, "He is my master. How could I not know his Dharma name?" "Then why did you ask such a question?" they demanded. The young monk replied, "I asked to help him eliminate his vanity." Zen wisdom. The world is noisy because of fame. The world is restless because of profit. Many people spend their lives chasing fame and profit. How many can truly let go of fame and profit? 15. The third golden man. The ancient Greek philosopher Socrates said that the heavens gave humans 2 ears, 2 eyes, but only 1 mouth, so they could listen and see more and speak less. This succinctly and vividly highlights the importance of listening. Long ago, an envoy from a small country brought 3 identical golden statues to China, causing the old Chinese king great joy. However, the envoy also presented a puzzling challenge. Which of these 3 golden statues is the most valuable? The king tried various methods, inviting jewel experts to examine, weigh, and scrutinize the statues, but they were identical. What to do? Could the mighty empire not solve such a simple problem? Finally, the king reluctantly invited the great Zen master Goguo, hoping he could use his Zen wisdom to resolve the issue. The king summoned the envoy to the great hall, and the Zen master skillfully took 3 stalks of wheat. He inserted a stalk into the ear of one golden statue, and it came out the other ear. For the second statue, the stalk went straight out of the mouth. For the third statue, the stalk went in and remained inside, with no movement. The Zen master said, "The third golden statue is the most valuable." The envoy was silent. The answer was correct indeed. Zen wisdom. The most valuable person is not necessarily the one who talks the best. The heavens gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, intending for us to listen more than we speak. The person who listens well is the most mature and has the most fundamental quality. 16. The Zen master interprets dreams. Life's misfortunes are inevitable. But if you know how to seize opportunities and swim against the current, it often leads to the scenario. At the end of the mountain in water, there is no way out. In the shadows of willows and flowers, there is another village. A scholar on his 3rd trip to the capital for exams stayed at a secluded Zen monastery. Before the exam, he had 3 dreams. In the first dream, he planted vegetables on a wall. In the second dream, on a rainy day, he wore a hat and carried an umbrella. In the third dream, he lay naked, back to back, with his beloved cousin. The clear dream scenes left the scholar bewildered, so he rushed to find a fortune teller to interpret them. The fortune teller said, "Master, you should go home. Think about it. Planting vegetables on a wall is futile. Wearing a hat and carrying an umbrella is redundant. And lying naked with your cousin back to back, means you want to but can't do anything. After hearing the fortune teller's words, the scholar felt thunderstruck. Wanting to take the exam for the third time with such ominous signs, he felt utterly pessimistic and returned to the monastery to pack his belongings to go home. The old Zen master in the monastery was curious and asked the scholar, "Aren't you going to take the exam? Why are you going home today? Did something happen?" The scholar confessed everything. The old Zen master, overjoyed, said, "Oh, I can also interpret dreams. I believe you will certainly pass this time. Think about it. Planting vegetables on a wall means a high success rate. Wearing a hat and carrying an umbrella means you are well prepared this time. Lying back to back with your cousin means you will touch each other when you turn over." The scholar, hearing this, felt the old Zen master was right and went to the exam with a positive spirit, eventually ranking third in the imperial exam. Zen wisdom. The same dream, different interpretations due to different mindsets. Everything depends on the mindset. A positive mindset leads to positive actions and often ideal results. Not one but both get wet. One day the Zen master called his 3 disciples and wrote a poem. The rain falls steadily on 2 people walking, enduring the sky, neither gets wet. Then the master asked the disciples, "Now, tell me how you understand this poem. Why does neither get wet?" The first disciple said, 2 people walking in the rain, one of them not getting wet, must be because that person is wearing a raincoat." The Zen master made no comment and asked another disciple, "What is your understanding?" The second disciple said, "The first one is wrong. The answer can't be that simple. 2 people walking in the rain, one not getting wet, is quite strange. I think it must be a localized shower with rain falling in one place but not another. So 2 people walking in the rain means one didn't get wet." The Zen master smiled but still did not comment. The third disciple said, "The reasons given by the first 2 are too forced. One wearing a raincoat, the other a localized shower. It's much simpler than that. One person didn't get wet because they were walking under an eave. When it rains, you don't get wet under the eaves." Feeling smug, he thought the Zen master would praise him, but the master did not. After a while, the Zen master smiled and said to all 3 disciples, "Today, I asked you this question, and none of your answers satisfied me. You have been with me daily studying the Buddhist teachings, but you have made no progress. Do you know why?" All 3 disciples looked at each other, heads bowed in shame. The Zen master continued, "The reason for your lack of progress is that you are stuck on the surface, lost in the horns. Take today's question as an example. You all got stuck on the phrase, 'neither gets wet,' so you couldn't come up with the right answer. Actually, the phrase, 'neither gets wet' simply means, 'both got wet.'" Zen wisdom. In anything you do, pay attention to enlightenment. If you remain on the surface, bound by the literal meaning, you will never reach true wisdom. 18. Cutting off a finger to teach a student. One evening at Zen master Kinhwa Kuchi's dojo, during a drizzly rain, a nun named Shiji arrived. Without announcing herself or removing her hat, she walked straight into the Zen hall, circled around Master Kuchi 3 times with her staff, and said, "If you can explain the meaning of enlightenment, I will take off my hat." She repeated this question 3 times, but Master Kuchi did not know how to respond. Frustrated, Shiji waved her sleeve and prepared to leave. Feeling ashamed, Master Kuchi politely said, "It's already dark. Please stay the night." Shiji stopped and said, "If you can give me a reason, I will stay." Master Kuchi was still at a loss for words. Later, Zen Master Tianlong arrived and Kuchi recounted Shiji's question to seek Tianlong's insight. Tianlong simply raised his index finger, and Kuchi was instantly enlightened. From then on, whenever someone asked about Zen or Buddhist teachings, Master Kuchi would raise his index finger, and the students would understand. This became known as Kuchi's one finger. One of Kuchi's disciples imitated his master. Whenever someone sought the way and Kuchi was not around, the disciple would raise his index finger, regardless of the question. One day, Kuchi called this disciple to the Dharma hall and asked, "Do you understand Buddhism?" The disciple replied, "Yes." Kuchi then asked, "What is Buddha?" The disciple naturally raised his index finger. Kuchi immediately cut off the disciple's finger with a knife. The disciple cried out in pain, and Kuchi asked again, "What is Buddha?" The disciple instinctively tried to raise his finger but realized it was gone, and at that moment, he was enlightened. Master Tianlong's single finger taught Ku Chi the truth that one is the principle and there is no two or three. From then on, he used the single finger to teach his students. The disciple's imitation of the finger gesture without understanding led Zen into a meaningless form. Ku Chi's act of cutting off the finger was to break this formality, moving from the visible to the invisible, returning to the heart of Zen, enabling the disciple's enlightenment. Zen wisdom. The Buddha in the heart is not the Buddha in the eyes of the world. The mystery of Zen does not need written words. Enlightenment is in the heart. Seeking Zen is not about pretending to be profound. Its truth lies in returning to nature. The Buddha is formless, which is the heart. Seeking the Buddha is to see one's heart and return to the essence. 19. The eye of the flesh and the eye of the mind. The Caodong school is one of the 5 schools of Chinese Zen Buddhism, founded by the duo Zen master Dongshan Liangjie and Zen master Kaoshan Benji in 857, hence named Caodong school. During the southern Song dynasty, the Caodong school flourished, spreading the Zen atmosphere far and wide, rivaling the Linji school in scale. One day, Zen master Yunyan was making shoes when Zen master Dongshan walked by. Seeing this, Dongshan asked, "Master, can I do the same as you?" Yunyan replied, "Tell me." Dongshan candidly said, "I want to have your eyes." Yunyan calmly responded, "You want my eyes? What about your own eyes?" Dongshan said, "I have no eyes." Yunyan sneered and said, "If you had eyes, where would you place them?" Dongshan was at a loss for words. Then Yunyan said very seriously, "I think the eyes you want are not mine, but your own eyes." Dongshan changed his tone and said, "Actually, I don't want eyes." Yunyan couldn't bear the contradiction in his words and said loudly, "Leave me alone." Dongshan was not surprised and sincerely said, "I will leave, but I have no eyes and can't see the way." Yunyan touched his heart and said, "Why didn't you tell me this earlier, and still say you can't see?" Finally, Dongshan was enlightened. The eye of the flesh sees the long and short, the square and round, the green, red, white of the world, a perspective limited to appearances and phenomena. The eye of the mind observes the essence and nature of everything in the universe, a comprehensive view that unites inside and out. No wonder Dongshan, despite having physical eyes, couldn't see the way ahead. When Yunyan explained the wonder of the eye of the mind, Dongshan was enlightened. Zen wisdom. If the eye of the flesh is for observing the world, then the eye of the mind is for contemplating human affairs. Relying on one's heart with wisdom is better than relying on the eyes for wisdom. 20. Moderate charity. Zen Master Fo Guang wanted to develop Buddhism and started many projects within Buddhism. His disciples, to fulfill the Master's ideals, worked hard, encouraging believers to donate and make merit. Once, Zen Master Fo Guang returned from spreading the Dharma, and the disciples eagerly reported their achievements in fundraising. Disciple Pu Dao proudly said, "Master, today a great donor contributed 100 taels of silver to help build our great hero hall." Disciple Pu Dai, hearing this, also reported, "Master, Layman Chen from the city visited you, and I took him to various halls to make offerings. He donated enough food for us for a year." Master Shan Deng, the temple guest master, and others spoke of the devout generosity of the believers to Zen Master Fo Guang. Seeing this, Zen Master Fo Guang frowned, stopping everyone from speaking, and said to his disciples, "You have worked hard, but unfortunately too much fundraising is not meritorious." The disciples didn't understand and asked, "Why is raising more money not a good thing?" Zen Master Fo Guang said, "If we enrich the believers and make them prosperous, Buddhism will be prosperous. We can't always ask believers to donate for this or that Buddhist cause. Isn't it foolish to kill the chicken for its eggs? If one day the believers can no longer support us, what will protect Buddhism's Great Wall?" Zen Master Fo Guang's profound words are worth pondering. The charity Zen Master Fo Guang spoke of should be carried out under the principle of not causing suffering or distress, and charity should be persistent, not forced. Buddhist practitioners with Zen should think not only for themselves but also for others. Can it be said that Zen practitioners only value enlightenment and not compassion? Zen wisdom, moderate charity, persistence. If one can regulate the amount in life, everything will naturally go smoothly. and the mind will be at peace. 21. Eating and sleeping as practice. The Zen masters after Zen master Huineng followed Huineng's method of Zen practice, acting straightforwardly, disregarding formalities, increasingly integrating Zen into daily life, forming an attitude of going with the flow. Zen Buddhism emphasizes the essence, not emptiness. Daily activities such as eating, living, and sleeping are expressions of the essence. Ordinary behaviors following nature are both methods of Zen and realms of Zen practice. A disciple asked Zen master Huineng, "Master, what makes you different from others that you can live so freely and comfortably?" Huineng replied, "Nothing really. If there's any difference, it's that when I'm sleepy, I sleep, and when I'm hungry, I eat." The disciple was astonished, asking, "What's different about that? Everyone does that." Huineng laughed heartily and said, "When I eat, I just eat without thinking about anything else, eating comfortably and at peace. When I sleep, I just sleep, never having nightmares, sleeping comfortably and freely." After a pause, Huineng continued, "But worldly people, when eating, worry about how to prevent others from taking their wealth, not tasting the sweetness of food. When sleeping, they think about how to take others' possessions, thinking endlessly. Does it seem that everyone is like that?" The disciple felt deeply enlightened and said, "So, we need to maintain a normal heart to feel this world with our hearts." "Yes, that's true," the Zen master joyfully said. "You have begun to enter the path by maintaining a normal heart. When you can do it without holding on to a normal heart, always in that state, you will truly be enlightened." Zen wisdom: welcome what comes, let go of what goes, be at peace with the present, neither rejecting nor seeking. Zen wisdom lies not in chanting scriptures or worship, but in the realization of every moment in daily work and life. 22. The salt-dissolving lesson. The purpose of practicing Zen is enlightenment, but what is the benefit of enlightenment? Buddhism believes that for an enlightened person, they can let go of anything, remain fearless in the face of great calamities, adapt without changing their true nature, and achieve lasting happiness and joy amidst the swirling red dust of life. A student came to the Zen hall to consult the master. "Master, I often strike the wooden fish, read scriptures, sleep, and wake up early without any distracting thoughts. Among all the students here, none are as diligent as I am, yet I cannot attain enlightenment. Why is that?" The Zen master handed the student a gourd and a chunk of salt, saying, "Take this gourd, fill it with water, and dissolve the chunk of salt in it. Then you will be enlightened." The student did as instructed but returned shortly saying, "The gourd is too small and there's too much salt. I can't dissolve all the salt. I still can't attain enlightenment." The master took the gourd, poured out some water, shook it a few times, and the salt dissolved completely. The Zen master kindly said, "Being diligent all day without maintaining an ordinary mind is like trying to dissolve salt in water that you can't shake or stir. How can you attain enlightenment this way?" The student asked, "Does that mean one doesn't need to be diligent to attain enlightenment?" The master replied, "A string that is too tight will break. A string that is too loose won't produce sound. A balanced mind is the root of the way." Finally, the student had a sudden realization. One who constantly seeks enlightenment quickly will never attain it. Zen wisdom. In this world, do not be fixated on rapid progress. Studying without flexibility will not yield results. Leave some space for yourself to maneuver. Allow time for reflection. Neither rushing nor slowing down, neither too tight nor too loose, is the threshold to enter the way. 23. Tranquil mind, great enlightenment. One day, several disciples were fiercely debating the meaning of great enlightenment. They went to Master Ji-chan and asked, "In this world, what is great enlightenment?" Master Ji-chan smiled and said, "Great enlightenment lies in a tranquil mind." The disciples were somewhat puzzled. Before lunch, Master Ji-chan led them to a pear grove behind the mountain. The pears on the trees were mostly ripe, red, and emitting a sweet fragrance. Master Ji-chan instructed 2 disciples to pick a basket of pears. Then he invited the disciples to enjoy the pears right there. The pears were as sweet as honey. After eating, Master Ji-chan led them to a small pond, scooped up some pond water to drink, and asked the disciples to do the same. The disciples drank a few sips of the pond water and found it quite sweet. Master Ji-chan asked, "How is the pond water?" The disciples smacked their lips and replied, "The pond water is sweeter than the water we usually fetch from afar. From now on, we can fetch water from this pond to drink." Master Ji Chan then had a disciple fetch a bucket of pond water. After lunch, he had the disciples taste the fetched pond water again. This time, they all spat it out, frowning because it was bitter and had a grassy taste. Master Ji Chan explained, "Why does the same pond water taste different? It's because, before you tried the pond water the first time, you had eaten pears, and the lingering taste of pears masked the bitterness." The disciples nodded in agreement. Master Ji Chan then profoundly said, "In this world, some things, even if we personally experience them, might not reveal their true nature." Zen wisdom. Sometimes we are misled by the superficial and illusory appearances of things. Great enlightenment means discarding the illusions and vanity with a calm heart. 24 Daoxin defies the emperor's decree. During the Tang Dynasty, Master Daoxin, the fourth patriarch, stayed in the Yellow Plum Tree Temple for over 30 years. In the reign of Emperor Taizong, Daoxin's revered presence prompted the emperor to send an envoy, hoping to invite Daoxin to the capital. When the envoy conveyed the emperor's wish, Daoxin replied, "Please thank the emperor for his kind invitation. I am old and accustomed to the mountains. I no longer wish to enter the bustling city." The envoy relayed Daoxin's words to Emperor Taizong. Undeterred, the emperor sent another envoy, but again Daoxin declined, citing old age and illness. Feeling slighted, Emperor Taizong ordered the envoy to escort Daoxin to the capital, even threatening him with a sword if he refused. Daoxin calmly extended his neck and showed no fear, astonishing the envoy, who regretted his threat and reported back to the emperor. Moved by Daoxin's determination, Emperor Taizong honored his wish, sending precious silks to support his practice in the mountains. Zen wisdom. Everyone has their own aspirations. Some yearn for wealth and honor, while others seek a life of meditation in the mountains. Great men with grand aspirations cannot be swayed, even by emperors. 25 The stone for washing feet. National Master Meng Song of Tianlong Temple served as the imperial advisor for 7 dynasties, receiving long-lasting favors from the court and earning the love of Buddhists in the public. One day, while passing by Miaoxin Temple on his way to the capital, he stopped to visit Zen Master Guanshan. Wearing a patched kasaya, Guanshan greeted him warmly. Unable to offer lavish hospitality, Guanshan took some money from a stone box and asked his attendant to buy some baked cakes to serve the national master. Mun Song, touched by Guanshan's sincerity, graciously accepted and ate the cakes before leaving. When Mun Song usually traveled to the imperial palace, he was accompanied by many attendants, creating a grand spectacle. One day, as Mun Song's palanquin passed by Miaoxin Temple, he saw Guanshan sweeping leaves, gathering them for firewood. Mun Song sighed to his attendant, "My lineage has been surpassed by Guanshan." Whenever Guanshan visited Mun Song, he first washed his feet in a stream to avoid dirtying the temple. Later, Mun Song instructed the monks at Tianlong Temple to place a large flat stone by the stream for Guanshan's convenience. When Guanshan learned that Mun Song had arranged this, he remarked, "The national master is truly remarkable. His foundation is stronger and more enduring than this stone." Zen wisdom. Practicing Zen is about learning to be a true person. Zen arises from understanding humanity. 26. The weeping woman becomes the laughing woman. When a Zen master was traveling, he stayed at an old woman's house for a few days. This woman was constantly crying, which troubled the Zen master. He asked her, "Why do you cry all day? Is there something sorrowful? Maybe I can help you understand." The old woman replied, "I have 2 daughters. The eldest is married to a shoemaker and the youngest to an umbrella seller. When it's sunny, I worry about my younger daughter who sells umbrellas. When it rains, I worry about my elder daughter who sells shoes, so I cry every day because of them." The Zen master said, "I see, but you're thinking in the wrong way." The old woman said, "What's wrong with a mother worrying about her daughters? I know worrying doesn't help, but I can't control myself." The Zen master gently suggested, "It's not wrong to worry about your daughters, but why not be happy for them instead? On sunny days, think about how well your elder daughter's shoe shop must be doing. On rainy days, think about how your younger daughter's umbrellas must be selling well. You should rejoice for them every day, not sorrow. The old woman understood immediately. From then on, whether it rained or shone, she smiled brightly, transforming from a weeping woman to a laughing woman. Zen wisdom. Changing your perspective can completely change your experience. Isn't life the same? The opposite of sorrow is joy. The opposite of crying is laughing. Humans have two eyes to see things from different angles. 27. The Six Senses and the Six Realms. Zen Master Yangshan once asked Master Hongyan, "Why can't we quickly recognize our true selves?" Master Hongyan replied, "Let me use this analogy. It's like a house with 6 windows. Inside the house, there's a gorilla jumping around while 5 other gorillas outside chase it. The inner gorilla responds to the 6 windows, shouting and reacting. The 6 gorillas, 6 windows. It's hard to recognize which one is your true self." Upon hearing this, Yangshan realized that Hongyan was referring to our 6 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, chasing after the 6 external stimuli: sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touch, and thoughts, creating constant noise and confusion. Yangshan then bowed in gratitude and said, "Master, your analogy is enlightening, but what if the inner gorilla sleeps and the outer ones want to meet it?" Hongyan stepped off the bed, pulled Yangshan, and urgently said, "It's like a scarecrow in a field to ward off birds. How can it keep all creatures at bay?" Finally, Yangshan attained enlightenment. Why can't we recognize ourselves? Mainly because our true mind is clouded by the weariness of worldly affairs, like a mirror covered in dust cannot reflect clearly. 28. The mind is the Buddha. Zen Master Damai studied Zen for many years, diligently, yet he could not attain enlightenment. One day, he asked Master Mazu, "What is Buddha?" Mazu replied, "The mind is Buddha. Buddha is the mind." Damai suddenly became enlightened. After attaining enlightenment, Damai left Mazu to spread the Dharma. When Mazu heard that Damai had become enlightened, he doubted it, thinking, how could he attain enlightenment so quickly after so many years of studying without success? I must send someone to test him. So he sent a disciple to inquire. The disciple asked Damai, "Brother, what did the master say that enlightened you?" Damai replied, "The mind is Buddha. Buddha is the mind." The disciple said, "But now the master says it's neither mind nor Buddha." Damai asked, "Oh, what does he say now?" The disciple replied, "The master now often says neither mind nor Buddha." Damai laughed and said, "The old monk is just causing trouble. I won't concern myself with his neither mind nor Buddha. I will stick to the mind is Buddha." When the disciple reported back to Mazu, Mazu was moved and said, "The fruit is truly ripe," acknowledging that Damai had indeed attained enlightenment. Zen wisdom. One must have one's own convictions, believing in one's correctness. Be self-confident, self-reliant, self-respecting, and not swayed by others' opinions. 29. The flash of enlightenment. A disciple asked the Zen master, "Master, how can one purify the body and mind?" The Zen master laughed and said, "A man once had his fortune told and was told that his eyebrows were full of light, indicating he would become rich that day. So he went to the bank, reaching for the gold and silver in the vault, only to be caught and sent to the authorities. The magistrate asked, 'How dare you steal in broad daylight?' The man replied, 'I only saw the money, I didn't see anyone else.'" The Zen master continued, "A person with a Zen heart only sees the mundane world." The disciple asked again, "Then how can one become a Buddha?" The Zen master sternly said, "You've traveled through temples and forests, but have you found a place to settle your mind? If you only climb mountains and cross rivers, you'll just wear out your shoes, waiting for the king of hell to collect the cost of your shoes." The disciple persisted, "How can one become a Buddha?" The Zen master clapped his hands and laughed, saying, "If you have a determined will, throw away the worn shoes, run barefoot, free from any bindings, free from any worries about worn shoes or the cost of shoes. With an undetermined will, your mind is filled with thoughts, worries too much, full of burdens, and no place to settle." The disciple looked at his straw sandals. A flash of golden enlightenment appeared, and he suddenly understood. A determined will is most important. With it, external constraints don't matter. Thoughts and concerns can't occupy the mind, and you will naturally find a place of peace and purpose. 30. Only by transcending the material. One evening, under a bright moon, Zen Master Mazu Daoyi and his 3 close disciples, Shi Duan Jizang, Baizhang Huaihai and Nanquan Puyuan went to enjoy the moonlight. Mazu Daoyi asked, "How do you see this mirror?" Shi Duanjizan replied, "This is a good time for incense offering, scripture reading and Buddha worship." Baizhang Huaihai said, "This is the best time for striking the wooden fish and Zen meditation." Nanquan Puyuan, deep in thought, said nothing, brushed his sleeves and left. Mazu Daoyi sighed. Scripture enters the store, Zen returns to the ocean, only Nanquan Puyuan transcends the material. Mazu Daoyi used the moonlit scenery to help his 3 disciples understand the essence of Zen. Shi Duanjizan was obsessed with scriptures, Baizhang Huaihai was attached to the practice of Zen, but only Nanquan Puyuan was not attached, transcending all forms, reaching absolute freedom. Later, all 3 disciples attained enlightenment, becoming famous Zen masters and establishing their own schools, spreading Mazu Daoyi's Zen teaching. Zen wisdom. The principle of action is not to cling to any single thing, to encompass all things. Those with such a mindset can transcend events, using universal principles to approach any situation, achieving self-realization and understanding.